At the outset, I want to thank All India Ophthalmology Society and especially Dr. Namrata for giving me this opportunity to present my thoughts on bacterial keratitis management first. So if you look at this 17-year-old male who presented with pain-watering redness and diminution of pain since 7 days, we are very clear from the picture of the cornea that this patient is dealing with grave infection of the central part of the cornea with discharge present. There is an overhanging edge, and if you look at this ring-shaped infiltrate which is there. So how do we go about treating this patient? At presentation, this patient was on cocktail therapy on antibiotic, antifungal, and even antiviral. So what's most important in such cases is to go in for a microbiological evaluation. We did that in this patient, and within half an hour of the corneal scraping, we came to know that we were dealing with a gram-negative bacteria. We started the treatment for the patient in the form of fortified antibiotics, and within 3 days, we found that the patient had started to respond. After 3 days, we got in the microbiological detailed reports with sensitivity patterns as well. We continued the medications as the patient looked like being sensitive to the antibiotics which we had started. And as the time progressed, by day 9, the patient had become much better and the corneal lesion had healed. And by 2 to 3 weeks, the corneal lesion had scarred almost completely. So what was different? He was already on medications before. And what was different that we did? Basically, it's the corneal scraping which helps. Corneal scraping has to be taken up from the active edge and the floor of the ulcer. The staining techniques being the gram stains will show gram-positive bacteria which will appear blue, negative which will appear red or purple, and we need to observe also the morphology in cocci or rods. This can be done very not I would say easily, but if you are trained enough, an ophthalmologist can pick up these conditions and also at least come to know whether it's a gram-positive or a gram-negative bacteria. The next step is always to go in for culture medias, which help us in identifying which organism or which bacteria we are dealing with. We have to inoculate in vinegar and chocolate agar, and to rule out fungus on Sabaros, and if we are suspecting acanthamoeba, we must use non-chocolate agar seeded with E. coli. Bacterial keratitis can present in any of these forms, which may be a small lesion or a suture infiltrate to a large infiltrate limbus to limbus. Now, the causative organism can be a gram-positive bacteria with an array of organisms being there, or a gram-negative bacteria. Acanthamoeba not coming in bacterial infection must also be considered whenever we are dealing with a very painful condition and central ring infiltrate. Just a brief about the organisms which you can suspect at the time. Whenever it's a post-trauma, sac infection, or a suture abscess, pneumococcus keratitis comes first to the mind. They are also called ulcer serpiginous. They usually have hypopyon associated with them, and melt and perforations are common. So this is one of the suture infiltrates which, when treated well, did respond to the medical management. In compromised corneas, which may be because of a PBK, a herpetic infection, or dry eyes, Staphylococcus keratitis must be considered. It's usually a localized with fairly distinct borders and healthy stroma surrounding it. So this was one of the cases which grew Staphylococcus, and with broad spectrum antibiotics, it did respond well. We are all scared of Pseudomonas keratitis because it has a virulent course with diffuse epithelial graying on stroma, thick mucopurulent exudate, and ring ulcerations with melting. We say that right in front of our eyes, the cornea starts to melt. Sometimes we have very difficult situations, like this was a patient, day 2, post-C3R, and this was around 5 to 6 years back, and post-C3R, the patient did have this sort of a position where there was a starting of an infiltrate, a very round glass appearance of the epithelium, which was not common. We went ahead and did the corneal scraping for the same, and the second day only we found that we were dealing with a gram-negative organism. Started the patient on topical antibiotics, and the patient did respond to the medications and scarred. Sometimes you have this wreath-like pattern, and when you put them on the with the proper staining methods, you can find out that we may be dealing with organism like nocardia. So, what is actually the clinical microbiological profile, and how do we assess the outcomes of keratitis? So we did this study, we call it as the Delhi Infective Keratitis Study, with an aim to study the clinical microbiological profile of infective keratitis at a tertiary eye care center in North India. It was a retrospective hospital-based cross-sectional study with 1786 corneal microbiological reports identified within 2 years period, and 625 scrapings which had of infective keratitis which fulfill the inclusion criteria. A microbiological evaluation was done, and demographic profiles, signs, symptoms, risk factors associated, and the outcomes were assessed. Of this, majority of the patients who presented were males as compared to females, and all patients in our study had unilateral involvement. The important part was that the predisposing factor in most of the cases, majority of the cases came out to be trauma, which was followed by previous ocular surgery, which was in the form of a previous keratoplasty or most of the cases were previous keratoplasty, or at some cases even post-trap we had. So if you look at the microbiological profile, we had 24%, that is 150 smear positive for fungus in the mouth, and 303 gram stain positive. Of these gram positive, 62.9% were culture positive, and on the culture positive, we found that majority of them were gram positive, that is 75%, followed by gram negative bacteria. We also had 11 cases of microsporidia in this study. If you look at the details in the bacterial, I'll just stick to the bacterial keratitis. Staphylococcus was the most prominent organism identified in gram positive, followed by streptococcus, and in gram negative, Pseudomonas remains an important organism, which the proportion is now growing up as the years are passing. And the sensitivity pattern is always a matter of concern when it comes to Pseudomonas. Even in our study, we found that it was slowly getting resistant to a lot of standard medications which we've been using for gram-negative bacteria. So when we come to the treatment for these bacterial keratitis, which may present in any of the forms, we should always grade the ulcer, whether it's in the mild variety, a moderate, or severe ulceration, what we are saying. The choice of antibacterial agent always hits the bullseye. Like if we know which organism we are dealing with, we can just go in by the antibiotics, which should be based on the smears without waiting for the results of the culture and the sensitivity. That we can see after some time. Initial empirical therapy based on the smears is frequent instillation of broad spectrum antibiotics, which may be in the form of combination mode of therapy or monotherapy. I still believe that a loading dose, if it is given 5 minutes interval for half an hour and 10 minutes till 1 hour, that is for the next 30 minutes, followed by 1 hourly installation of antibiotic drops, remains a good mode of therapy for these patients. Loading dose definitely helps in sensitizing the patient towards the importance of the drugs, and also gives them a lot of confidence when they are sitting in the clinic and waiting for maybe the checking out of the patient. Combination therapy can be in the form of a gram positive and a gram negative fortified medications, being cephalosporin. Now, if it's not available, sometimes ceftazidime and the ceftriaxone can also be given. Along with that, a fortified aminoglycosides. In routine cases, I just give fortified tobramycin, but when I feel it's we may be suspecting nocardia or any atypical, fortified amikacin does well. Monotherapy for ulcers which are smaller and confined is a good option, which may be in the form of fluoroquinolones, moxifloxacin, ciprofloxacin. There have been various reports and treatment modalities depending on which fluoroquinolone to be used, but broad spectrum fluoroquinolones does well in small bacterial confined bacterial ulcers. So this was a patient which treated with monotherapy, did well and did heal with a scar. There is no need for systemic antibiotics in smaller ulcers, but the indication definitely comes when it's a perforating ulcer with a scleral involvement, and if we are having infection with a more virulent organism like Neisseria or Haemophilus. Adjunct treatment along with antibiotics should be cycloplegics, analgesic medications if the patient is in a lot of pain, and if we are suspecting or the patient is having secondary glaucoma, we need to treat them with anti-glaucoma drugs as well. So these are some of the dosage of the antibiotics which we give topically, and which we may have to prepare the fortified medications like vancomycin, cefazolin, gentamicin, and tobramycin. With the treatment, the patient, the cornea may scar, which may have very superficial opacity or nebular, macular, and leukomatous opacity, depending on the initial intensity of the bacterial infection. Or the patient may go on a impending perforation level. So if it's perforated, we have to go in for a glue or a penetrating keratoplasty or a tectonic keratoplasty. A glue would do well, like an isobutyl cyanoacrylate glue would do well in any sort of perforated corneal ulcer, which is less than 1 millimeter. Sometimes even up to 2, we are able to take care of it if we put a graft or a multilayered AMG along with the glue. It has well with when the ulcer is debrided. What's most important is that the surface should be dry and deepithelialized. The breakdown product, as we all know of this glue, is formaldehyde, which helps as holding it together. And the end point always remains the vascularization at this area, which is important for it's an indication that a glue can be removed. Sometimes we have this presentation wherein we don't see a lot of infective infiltrate, but it's a melt which is happening with very severe thinning which is present. The patient is already on antibiotics and the thinning continues. So we can go in for adjunct surgical maneuvers like tarsorrhaphy, which helps in preserving the surface. And this is the case 5 days after tarsorrhaphy. And finally, it heals after 3 to 4 weeks with proper medication and taking care of the surface as well. Whenever the ulceration is progressing, there is non-response to therapy and there are large areas of perforation, therapeutic keratoplasty or tectonic keratoplasty remains the only option for it at our hands, and it does well if the tissue we are taking and the other conditions are good. Corneal button has to be sent for microbiological evaluation, which has to be in the form of cultures as well as histopathology. We always have to consider some pearls in therapeutic keratoplasty, which are in the form that trephination should be large enough and include 1 millimeter of the surrounding cornea. This is one of the cases of Sphingomonas persimobilis, which is basically a very similar organism to Pseudomonas, post phocoemulsification surgery at a side bone, which was successfully treated with a patch graft, and he did well in this eye. We have to assess the therapy. How do we feel that it's responding? It's basically because of something of perimeter, reduction of density of suppuration, and the areas where we feel that the patient is responding to medications. But if the patient is not responding and it's progressing, we need to admit the patient, review the microbiological results, do corneal biopsy, and suspect any other possible causes.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. The time's up. If you could just conclude it in within 1 minute.
It's the last. So we should document, and to conclude, I would just say that make a clinical diagnosis. A proper documentation remains the most important aspect when it's a multi-center place where a lot of surgeons may be seeing after you. And there is an indispensable role of microbiology remains in bacterial keratitis, and be specific in treatment. We do not need to give all the medications which are available. Thank you so much. And thank you again, AIOS, for giving me this opportunity of presenting this.